Welcome to Timeless Wisdom, where we uncover those amazing nuggets of truth that have really stood the test of time. Today we're turning to verses 17 and 18 of Surah Al-Baqarah in the Quran.
All right.
You might know it as the cow.
These verses really hit on something deep hypocrisy in faith.
Mm-hmm.
They warn about the spiritual consequences of rejecting guidance and really drive home the point that our actions need to line up with what we say we believe.
It's like that age-old saying, actions speak louder than words, right?
Exactly. And the Quran uses this incredibly powerful metaphor of light and darkness to illustrate this point. It begins with someone trying to light a fire, searching for that warmth and guidance, but when the light is offered, they reject it.
So it's like they're looking for the right path, but then turning away when they find it.
Right.
What strikes me is how that feeling of inner conflict when you're not being true to yourself, it's almost like experiencing a kind of darkness.
That's a great observation. And that's exactly what the Quran is talking about.
Wow.
It's not just about some future punishment. The darkness is a real feeling we experience when we live in contradiction to our beliefs.
Oh.
Modern psychology calls this cognitive dissonance, that internal struggle we feel when our actions don't match our values.
And the Quran doesn't just mention darkness. It talks about darkness as plural.
Right?
What's that about?
It suggests that this darkness has layers to it. Each time we reject guidance, each time we choose to act against what we know to be true, we add another layer of darkness, pushing ourselves further away from the light.
That reminds me of the story about Abdullah ibn Ubay. He rejected Islam because he was so focused on worldly power and ambition.
His story is a perfect example of how those worldly desires, that yearning for status and recognition, can build those layers of darkness, blinding us to the truth.
Wow.
And his heart became filled with bitterness and resentment.
Oh, wow.
That's the real consequence of choosing darkness over light.
Those negative emotions themselves become another layer of darkness. It makes me think about how modern psychology also emphasizes the damaging effects of negativity on our mental and spiritual well-being.
You're absolutely right. They go hand in hand. It's almost like those negative emotions prevent us from seeing the world clearly. They cloud our judgment and lead us down a path of further darkness.
So, if hypocrisy is one layer of darkness, what are some other layers people might encounter?
Think about the things that distract us from our values, from seeking truth. The constant pursuit of material possession, the need for validation from others, the endless cycle of chasing fleeting pleasures. These can all become layers of darkness, pulling us further away from what truly matters.
It's so easy to get caught up in the busyness of life and lose sight of our true purpose. But the source also talks about this idea of a veil of protection that God provides. What's that about?
It's this beautiful concept that even amidst all this darkness, there's a shield, a protection offered to those who sincerely seek guidance. It's like a reminder that we're not alone in this journey.
So even when surrounded by negativity, we can still access that protection and stay connected to the light. That's incredibly reassuring.
And this brings us to a crucial point: free will. The source emphasizes that while the message of truth should be shared, ultimately each individual chooses their path. We can choose to walk towards the light or remain shrouded in darkness.
So it's not about forcing anyone to believe a certain way, but rather creating an environment where they can discover truth for themselves.
Precisely. It's about offering guidance, sharing knowledge, and planting seeds. But the choice to nurture those seeds, to allow them to grow, rests with each individual.
That's a powerful reminder for all of us. We can't control others' choices, but we can focus on our own actions and strive to be a source of light in the world.
Beautifully said.
Thank you.
It's about living in a way that reflects truth and inspires others to seek it.
I'm curious about that next verse where it talks about those who reject faith becoming deaf, mute, and blind. What's the deeper meaning behind that?
It's not about physical senses. It's a powerful metaphor for the spiritual state of those who choose to close themselves off to the truth. They become unable to hear the message of guidance, unable to speak the truth themselves, and blind to the signs of God all around them.
That makes me wonder, can someone who's reached that state ever find their way back? Can they regain those senses and step back into the light?
That's a great question, and one we'll explore further as we delve deeper into these verses. But for now, I think it's important to remember that even in the face of darkness, there's always hope for those who genuinely seek guidance.
Absolutely.
It's amazing how the Quran connects those physical senses of sight and hearing to something much deeper, a spiritual state of being.
You're right. It's saying that choosing darkness can actually affect how we perceive the world around us.
And not just perceive, but how we interact with it. Remember, it says they become mute as well. They lose the ability to not only recognize the truth, but also to speak up for it, to live in accordance with it.
So it's a much more active state than just passively rejecting something.
Yeah.
It's about becoming disconnected from truth on a fundamental level.
Right.
It makes me wonder, if someone's surrounded by all these layers of darkness, can they ever find their way back to the light?
The choice ultimately lies with the individual. As much as we might want to guide others towards the light, we can't force them to embrace it.
So while sharing the message is important, it's equally crucial to recognize the power of free will.
Exactly. It's like planting a seed. You can provide the right environment, the nourishment, but the seed has to choose to grow.
And that makes me think about those layers of darkness we were talking about earlier. What are some real-life examples of those layers that might prevent someone from seeing the truth?
Well, remember the example of Abdullah ibn Ubay? His desire for power and recognition blinded him to the beauty of Islam. It was like those desires created a veil preventing him from recognizing the truth.
So worldly ambitions, the constant chase for status and material possessions, those can all become layers of darkness.
Absolutely. And those layers aren't limited to just those who completely reject faith. Even those who consider themselves believers can fall prey to these distractions.
That's such an important point. We can all get so caught up in the everyday hustle, the pursuit of the next big thing, that we lose sight of our spiritual core.
Exactly. And that's why the Quran constantly reminds us to check our intentions, to reflect on our actions, and to be mindful of the influences we surround ourselves with. Are we truly seeking truth, or are we allowing those layers of darkness to cloud our judgment?
So it's an ongoing process of self-reflection and purification, almost peeling away those layers to allow the light to shine through.
Right.
But how do we actually do that? What are some practical steps?
The Quran emphasizes the importance of seeking knowledge. It's about actively engaging with the teachings, pondering their meaning, and striving to understand how they apply to our lives.
So it's not just about reading the words, but truly internalizing the message and reflecting on how we could live it out.
Precisely. It's about transforming knowledge into action. And that action can take many forms. It could be acts of kindness, helping those in need, speaking up against injustice, or simply striving to be a better version of ourselves each day.
It's like those actions themselves become a way of removing those layers of darkness, of allowing more light into our lives and the lives of those around us.
Exactly. And it's a continuous journey, a constant striving to align ourselves with truth.
The Quran's emphasis on action reminds me of something I read about in psychology, the idea that behavior change often precedes a shift in beliefs. Sometimes simply acting in a certain way can actually change how we think and feel.
That's a fascinating connection. And it speaks to the power of incorporating these teachings into our daily lives. It's not just about abstract concepts, it's about tangible actions that shape our character and bring us closer to our true purpose.
Those actions become a catalyst for spiritual growth, helping us to shed those layers of darkness and connect more deeply with the light.
Beautifully said. It's about recognizing that our journey towards truth isn't a passive one. It requires effort, intention, and a willingness to step out of our comfort zones.
It's about actively seeking guidance, reflecting on the teachings, and striving to live in accordance with the truth we discover. And I think that's a powerful message to carry with us as we continue this exploration.
We've been unpacking some really profound concepts from Surah Al-Baqarah, like the metaphors of light and darkness, the consequences of hypocrisy, and the importance of seeking truth with sincerity.
And we've seen how those teachings resonate with modern psychology, especially the impact of our choices and those layers of darkness that can hinder our spiritual growth.
But it's not all doom and gloom, right? No, not at all.
The source emphasizes that even when surrounded by darkness, there's always hope for those who genuinely seek guidance.
Absolutely. It reminds us that God's mercy is vast and that He provides a protective veil for believers, shielding them from harmful influences.
It's like a spiritual safety net, helping us stay connected to the light even when surrounded by negativity.
And that brings us back to the idea of free will. We have the power to choose which path we follow to cultivate the light within us or allow ourselves to be consumed by darkness.
So it's not just about passively accepting or rejecting faith. It's about actively choosing to live in accordance with truth and seeking knowledge that nourishes our souls.
And that's where the beauty of the Quran lies. It's not just a historical text. It's a living guide filled with timeless wisdom that we can apply to our lives today.
So what are some actionable steps we can take to incorporate this wisdom into our daily lives?
Well, the source emphasizes the importance of self-reflection. Taking time to examine our intentions, our actions, and the influences that shape our thinking is crucial.
It's like taking a spiritual inventory, identifying those layers of darkness that might be holding us back.
And once we've identified those layers, we can start to peel them away by consciously choosing to focus on what brings us closer to truth and light.
So it might be spending more time in nature, connecting with like-minded individuals, engaging in acts of kindness, or simply dedicating time for quiet contemplation.
Exactly. It's about finding what nourishes your soul and making those practices a regular part of your life.
And it's not just about individual growth. The source also highlights the importance of sharing the message of truth with others.
Of course. But it's about doing so with wisdom and compassion, understanding that we can plant seeds, but we can't force them to grow.
So it's about leading by example, sharing our own experiences, and creating a space for genuine dialogue and understanding.
Beautifully said. And that brings us to the end of our deep dive into these powerful verses from Surah Al-Baqarah.
I don't know about you, but I feel incredibly inspired by the insights we've uncovered today.
Me too. It's a reminder that even in the face of darkness, there's always a path towards light, and that seeking truth is a journey that continues throughout our lives.
And it's a journey we don't have to take alone. We can support each other, share our insights, and continue to learn and grow together.
A fantastic point. And on that note, we invite you to continue exploring the timeless wisdom of the Quran and discover the transformative power it holds.
Thank you for joining us on this enlightening journey. Be sure to check out the Broke Entrepreneur channel for more content. The Quran's wisdom is timeless. Apply it today.